Okay, folks, now that we're in winter, I find that I'm eating a lot of celeriac in place of potatoes, a great alternative, a great swap for low carb instead of potatoes. But celeriac's not something that you might have heard of, and you'll be wondering, what is it? Well, the good news is you can buy it in the big supermarkets, and it looks like this. And it's grown in the UK, and it's often a little bit bigger than this. This is a locally grown one. But the thing that really distinguishes it is all these sort of gnarly roots at the bottom. And quite often there's a bit of sort of peat, a bit of compost or mud in there, and we trim all that off. But it's the same family as celery, but it's got a nice, I think, a mild flavour. So you can treat it in exactly the same way as a potato. So it's ever so simple. I'll just sort of move over here a little bit. Hopefully you can see what I'm up to. So I start by just trimming off the ends and just sort of using a sharp knife to get the little sort of grubby bits out. Just trim it back, conserving as much as you can. These at the moment in the supermarkets cost about £1.50, £1.60, something like that. Quite a decent size one that will give you 4 good servings. So I'm going to trim that down. I'll come back to these bits in a minute. Trim the top off, and then just in very much the same way as you would do a potato or something like that. You can then just remove the skin. In fact, even better if you go in with a peeler. Just peel it, and then it's so simple. You can dice it. Save all these bits of peelings. They make wonderful stock, flavouring the stock. Obviously don't put the gritty bits in unless you're going to strain it. So once you've got it into dice or chunks, obviously the smaller the chunks, the quicker it will cook. So I tend to sort of cut it into, I suppose, about 1/2 inch squares, about sort of 15 mil, something like that. Just chop it up roughly, and then put it into some salted water, bring it to the boil. It's likely to take around 20-25 minutes, something like that, or about 10 minutes in a pressure cooker. So work your way through the whole celeriac, just making lumps. Boil them in salted water. When they're really tender, like the knife just goes through with no resistance, then they're ready to mash. So add your butter, a bit of salt and pepper, and if you're using a potato masher, you will see what the end result is. Slightly more sort of fibrous. Can you see it? It's absolutely delicious. It's got slightly fibrous, but it's a minimum amount of work. It's ready to eat, piping hot with butter, salt and pepper, like that. If you're having a special occasion and you want to do something a bit more dressy, then use a bar mix or a food processor into the pot, into the pan. Again, lots of butter, even cream cheese, make it really luxurious. But that's really smooth, like a puree. It's absolutely beautiful. So that is a great substitution for creamed mashed potato. So that's what you can do with celeriac. Another great celeriac dish is called celeriac dauphinoise, and it's the same for potatoes. And I like to parboil little slices of celeriac because it really speeds up the cooking time. Ordinarily, you would put raw celeriac, butter, salt and pepper, a bit of garlic, maybe a bit of nutmeg, and layer it, and then put the cream mix on top, and then bake it in the oven till it's golden. But it takes a long time, so parboiling it cuts it down to about half an hour. And if you were having that grilled, with grilled meats rather, I mean that's been about 25 minutes in the air fryer, perhaps do with a bit longer. But it makes an absolutely beautiful addition, to a special Christmas dinner or something like that. The absolutely tender slices of celeriac in the cream there. So can't recommend using celeriac highly enough. The other one that a lot of people haven't really had any experience of is swedes. So they are called rutabaga in America, neeps in Scotland, but mostly we know them as swede, and we treat them exactly the same way as a celeriac. Top and tail them, chop, dice, and boil them in salted water till they're really tender. If you've got an old one or a big woody one, you might actually have to use a knife to remove the outside layer, because sometimes they can be a little bit sort of fibrous on the outside. So trim back till you get past the sort of the fibrous yellow bit. I'm just good with this one here. It's quite a nice fresh one, and I'll just peel back. I'm not going to waste it. I'm just going to maximise the amount of pulp that I get, and that'll be absolutely fine. So that's going to be diced in salted boiling water and then mashed with butter. And the end result is very similar. This is one that I've actually used the hand blender on again. So it's a lovely, creamy, soft vegetable side dish, or you can use it for the top of a shepherd's pie, something like that. It's very, very versatile and absolutely delicious. Carb content is, varies, depends on which site you look at, which app, which book. Generally speaking, they're coming in around about 5 grams of carbs per 100 grams. Some say less, some say more. So just think about it as probably about 5. And it makes the most delicious substitute. You can do celeriac fries. They're not like French potato fries, but they are a lovely side dish. And as I say, it's a swede as well. So get to know your celeriac and your swedes, and get into your kitchen and start enjoying some alternatives to potatoes. Thanks.